They laughed when he said he was just a mechanic. The men at the bar wore expensive watches, tailored suits, polished shoes that had never touched oil-stained concrete. He wore worn denim, steel-toe boots, and hands permanently marked by grease that no soap could fully erase. "Another beer for the garage guy," one of them joked. But when the CEO sitting quietly in the corner overheard one simple sentence from the mechanic, four calm words spoken without ego. "I'm not just that." The laughter slowly stopped. Because within the next hour, everyone in that bar would realize they had just mocked the one man who could save their collapsing company. And the biggest surprise? He didn't even want the credit. Marcus Hale never introduced himself with titles. He was 38, a single father to a 10-year-old daughter named Ava, and the owner of a small auto repair garage on the edge of town. His shop wasn't flashy. The sign was slightly faded. The waiting chairs were mismatched. But every car that rolled out of his garage ran smoother than when it came in. Marcus believed machines were honest. Engines didn't lie. If something was broken, you listened carefully enough and it would tell you. People, on the other hand, were complicated. 5 years earlier, Marcus had been an engineering prodigy working for a major automotive technology firm. He specialized in efficiency algorithms, software that optimized engine performance and reduced fuel consumption. He was brilliant. But brilliance didn't protect him from grief. When his wife passed away unexpectedly due to a sudden illness, Marcus walked away from corporate life. The long hours, the politics, the boardroom egos. None of it mattered anymore. His daughter needed him. So he returned to what he loved most, working with his hands. He opened a small garage. Flexible hours. Close to home. Enough to pay the bills. He never told customers about the patents registered under his name. He never mentioned the industry awards gathering dust in a box in his attic. To Ava, he was simply Dad, the man who packed her lunch and never missed a school recital. One Friday evening, after closing the shop, Marcus stopped by a downtown bar to pick up takeout. He rarely stayed long. But that night, the place was unusually crowded. A group of sharply dressed executives were celebrating near the center table. Their laughter was loud, confident, entitled. Marcus sat at the counter, quietly sipping soda while waiting for his order. One of the men glanced at his boots. "Long day under the hood," he smirked. Marcus gave a small nod. "Something like that." Another chimed in. "Must be nice. No meetings. No shareholders breathing down your neck." They laughed. Marcus didn't respond. He was used to it. People often measured intelligence by fabric quality. But then one man at the table sighed heavily. He looked different from the others. Older. Quieter. Tired in a way that expensive suits couldn't hide. "Our new electric engine model is failing efficiency benchmarks," the man muttered. 3 years of development and it overheats under stress testing. The table grew tense. "We're bleeding millions," another added. Marcus's ears perked up. Electric engine overheating under stress. He knew that problem. He had solved that problem. He hadn't meant to speak, but the words slipped out naturally. "Your cooling loop calibration is probably misaligned with the load prediction software." The table went silent. One executive turned slowly. "Excuse me." Marcus shrugged lightly. "If your predictive model isn't adjusting airflow dynamically based on torque spikes, the heat distribution won't balance properly." Silence. The older man stood up and walked closer. "And how would a mechanic know that?" Marcus met his eyes calmly. "I'm not just a mechanic." The room shifted. The older man introduced himself. Richard Langford. CEO of one of the largest automotive innovation companies in the country. The same company Marcus had once worked for. Richard studied him carefully. "What's your name?" "Marcus Hale." Recognition flickered in Richard's eyes. "Hale, you developed the adaptive thermal algorithm prototype years ago." Marcus nodded slightly. "I refined it." The executives around the table looked stunned. "You're that Hale," one whispered. Marcus didn't enjoy the attention. Yes. I left. Richard's voice softened. Why? Marcus hesitated. My wife died. My daughter needed stability. Corporate life doesn't pause for grief. The bar felt different now. Heavier. Humble. Richard glanced at his team. We've been trying to fix this for months, he admitted. Consultants, analysts, millions spent. Marcus thought of Ava at home finishing her homework. He thought of the mortgage payment due next week. He thought of pride. Then he thought of purpose. Show me the data, he said simply. The next 2 hours, Marcus stood at that bar table sketching diagrams on napkins. He explained how the overheating wasn't mechanical, it was predictive modeling lag. The engine wasn't failing. The software was. He proposed a recalibration method using adaptive response cycles, something he had once built but never fully implemented before leaving. The executives listened like students. Richard's eyes gleamed with something rare in leadership, respect. Would you consider consulting? Richard asked carefully. Name your terms. Marcus looked down at his grease-stained hands. For years, people saw those hands and assumed limits. They didn't know those hands had once written code that redefined efficiency standards. He shook his head slightly. I'll help you fix it, Marcus said. But I don't want board meetings. I don't want headlines. Richard frowned. Then what do you want? Marcus smiled faintly. Flexible hours. Work from my garage. And a scholarship fund for single parents pursuing engineering degrees. The executives stared. That was it. Richard extended his hand. Done. 6 months later, the company launched its most successful electric engine model in history. It outperformed every competitor in efficiency and sustainability metrics. Industry magazines praised the breakthrough. But Marcus's name wasn't in the headlines. Instead, a quiet scholarship foundation began supporting parents who once believed their dreams had expired. One evening, Ava stood inside the garage watching her father tune an engine. Dad, she asked, why don't you tell people how smart you are? Marcus wiped his hands with a rag and crouched to her level. Because being smart isn't about proving it, he said gently. It's about using it when it matters. A week later, Marcus returned to the same bar. The same executives were there. But this time, they stood when he walked in. No jokes. No smirks. Only nods of respect. Richard raised his glass. To the mechanic who reminded us not to judge a book by its cover. Marcus lifted his soda with a small smile. Because he had never needed validation. He just needed balance. He had learned something powerful long ago. Titles fade. Money fluctuates. Status shifts. But character remains steady. And sometimes, the strongest engines are the ones running quietly beneath the surface. Strong message at the end. Never underestimate the person who chooses simplicity over status. Sometimes the quietest man in the room isn't the least powerful. He's the one who doesn't need to prove it. And real success is being present for what matters most, while still knowing exactly who you are.